Welcome to a match I had tonight. We'll call this one the Odyssey. It was quite the journey. So I started the match in the M24, and this has become one of my favorite tanks. It is an American light tank, and it's reasonably maneuverable, not the fastest, which is kind of what you want out of a light tank, but good maneuverability, fantastic handling, good hold traverse, good gun handling, and with the addition of stabilizers, this one having a simple vertical stabilizer gives it a huge advantage, especially in hill peaking or popping around corners and being able to get shots on target with a reasonable amount of accuracy. Now this tank is armed with the short 75 American, I think M4 cannon, and it performs exceptionally well against anything that has around 50 millimeters of armor. Any more and your results may become inconsistent. And the ballistics for this projectile are not very good. Just checking that artillery gun to make sure it's not gonna shoot back at me. Yeah, I totally didn't think that was a tank. So I'm being a little jumpy here because I am in a light tank and I'm flanking, and this is what I like to call a medium flank. It's where you don't spend the whole match driving around the entire field of battle and try and take some long range shots at the enemy spawn or something. You just drive a reasonable distance away from the heat of the battle and set yourself up in a position, and here I'm reaping the benefits of that maneuvering. You set yourself up in a position to engage the main conflict from one of the flanks at not too great of a distance, because again, this 75mm short gun, not especially good at long range, and you can see that in that I missed a few of these first shots on the Stug, but that one lands in the engine compartment, immobilizing him. Next shot, satisfying. It can be said for the American 75 that they put on the Sherman and the Chaffee. When it hits, it does a good amount of damage. So there's that kill shot again. Moving on. It's nice to not get noticed in this tank. So, continuing to roll around the flank. At this point, I'm expecting to encounter other flanking tanks. So people, oh goodness, there's somebody. Cue dramatic music. At this point, I'm just hoping that he's taking a nap, and quick snapshot goes right into the turret, and bing. That's satisfying. It's always nice to see things working out my way. Again, this little guy, there's just something about light tanks. There's a carefree attitude you can take with them in RB, because they don't cost much to spawn out. You can be aggressive, you can push the objective, you're expendable, and if you manage to accomplish anything, then you're already ahead, especially with the Chaffee, because where it sits in my lineup, it's usually up tiered along with my Sherman Jumbo, so it only costs 100 spawn points to bring out. So it's practically free, and I like to do this early in a match. Of course, this match is working out, other ones not always so well. And at this point, I mean, I'm just laughing. So here we go. Dicker Max is just a gigantic armored tractor with a massive gun, and I managed to hit him directly in the ammo rack, blow up everything inside the tank. Very satisfying. Next up, oh, Hello, friend. Now, I could have stayed on the other side of this ridge. I don't think he noticed me, but I decided to push up and sort of test what his autocannons can do. This is that new Russian anti-aircraft vehicle. It's turned out to be a very effective platform. Quite a nice addition to the game. He managed to spray me through the turret with a few rounds, taking out the tank commander, but the crew was able to continue the fight. And actually, now that I think about it, he took out the gunner. It was the commander on the roof-mounted 50 cal that took out his vehicle. And that's another thing about American tanks. And watch this shot. Isn't that cool? So at this point, I'm just cleaning up the flank. Like I was saying, American World War II era tanks, and even into the post-war, really had a love for strapping machine guns onto things. And I completely agree with that decision, because in the game of War Thunder, those roof-mounted 50 cals can really fill in the gaps in performance for American teams. I really feel like in mid to the lower top tier, or let's just call it the 6.7 battle rating area, American tanks are fantastically well suited to combating the tanks that they face. It's just unfortunate that American teams don't always get the love that they deserve. Could have something to do with the player base, I don't know. Now I have wrapped completely around, and I'm feeling a little cautious here, because if there's somebody sniping at long range on that hillside, well, the odds of someone being there are fairly low. And oh, hello friend. Now we decide, lower glacis or the turret side. Well, it's pretty easy to choose, really. T-34s have rather unpredictable armor on the whole. Easier to punch through the side of the turret, and the results are consistent through and through. Can you believe it? 6 kills in the Chaffee like it was nothing. We lost a guy in the turret, but no big deal. We're a light tank, pushing on. Now, again, no fear in being aggressive. Oh, I'm spotted. That's bad news for a light tank, because that means, well, it means that anyone who's paying attention knows where you are. Part 2. Knock knock. Who's there? Russian bias. It is difficult to go against Russians and Germans when they're on the same team at this tier, because German 75mm cannons are prolific in this venue, and you often get experienced players who know how to put them to good use. It seems like every weakness in your armor will be exposed by those German 75s. Fantastic guns, I love them. Much like the long 75 that you find on some of the mid-tier Japanese tanks that are also a lot of fun to play. I got a video on that I'll have to post. But here I am rolling out in the jumbo, and I've noticed that much of my team is gone. So it's always a little disappointing to secure such an advantage for your team and find that while you were off on your adventure, the troops at home have been sucked into a whirlpool or feasted on by sirens. We thought you was a toad. What? Anyway, the Sherman Jumbo, my one chance at bringing a little taste of American freedom back to the battlefield. I love this tank. I love what Gaijin have done with this tank. A few updates ago, they decided to put it into a battle rating where its gun can perform, and I fully agree with that decision. Now, it does make it one of the most frontally opposing tanks in the game, but when I face one, I don't sweat. I just aim for that machine gun port, and life is good. And then there's the little matter of it when being engaged from the side, or, God forbid, the rear. This little tank, I always think of it more as a medium tank than a heavy. Just kind of a slow, front-heavy medium. But this tank does not perform well when it is facing multiple opponents to the sides and rear. But I've intentionally put myself in this open position, trying to draw any attention that comes from this flank. I've got one active teammate who is the reason that we were able to continue being competitive in this match, and I'll try not to give away the result. This ended up being an extremely close match. And once I've captured the point, I decide to be aggressive, draw attention, see if I can secure this flank, and then push toward the middle. My plan is going to be to do a little bit of a wraparound, and all of a sudden I've taken a hit in that actually well-armored rear part of the turret. First shot just misses the weak spot on the T-34. Second one obligingly wrecks everything in the tank. Next opponent is an AA truck, and again with that roof-mounted 50 cal combined with the short 75 makes short work of any lightly armored vehicles. A lot of fun. I always love to see the tracers lighting up the enemy, and just know that I have an unbeatable advantage. It's always a little bit comforting after encountering Soviet heavy armor to be able to take on something that absolutely has no chance of punching through. And IS-1. It's always a shame to non-pen on that first shot. Fantastic side armor on this monster. Now I have one chance, and what? Did you notice? Well, it helps that you had a little clip of it in the beginning. That bomb was well placed. Bombed by a biplane. I'm not even mad. I'm honestly impressed. Now that we have the cap point, I have one goal. Defend that point until my teammates, the point. I guess I have a new goal. We have to recapture the point. We have to hold. We have to drain all the enemy tickets. I get the feeling that we're outnumbered. A little bit of an air battle going on behind me. Nice cinematic backdrop for the drama unfolding on the sands as oil spills from burning tanks, and the last of my crews roll out to defend. What is this, El Alamein? I'm not quite sure. One thing I've noticed about this M476 is that the top-mounted 50 cal seems to be a bit sluggish, and since it's intended as an anti-aircraft mount, it's kind of disappointing to see it move so slowly. But I haven't spaded this tank, much to my chagrin. This is actually turning out to be a fantastic medium tank. I just haven't spent much time with this one in battles, and it's just not quite as mobile as the Chaffee, not nearly as well armored as the Jumbo, but what a gun. It is a lot of fun. Did I call that a 76? No, it's a long 75. How silly of me. Anyway, it's a lot of fun, especially since when compared with, say, the 76.2 on the Sherman Firefly, the post-penetration effect, that explosive high explosive filler that you find in American armor-piercing rounds. Very satisfying. Very consistent results. It's nice to know that you only have to shoot something once. Now at this point, I'm scouting the battlefield with the binoculars for anything that possibly looks like a tank, but I'm not really playing defensively at this point. My teammates are really, those who have survived, are really going for the win, and I feel like it's my job as a good teammate to back them up by playing aggressively. And I've also found that if you don't go where they're going, you know, not to follow behind someone, but to follow beside them, or to roll around just with what I again call a moderate flanking action, or a securing the flank kind of motion, tends to be more productive for the team. At least that's been my experience, and we've gotten some good mileage in this match. I'm already proud of what our team's been able to accomplish, and now I roll in to a victory that's already won, come secure this cap point, and I noticed there's been some enemy action. My valiant teammate has gone up in flames. Is there an enemy tank there? Yes. Oh man, snapshot. What a lovely addition to the game. Stabilizers for American tanks. Probably what I can thank for that snapshot. And again, with the consistency of post-penetration effect for those American APHE rounds, I don't have to worry about shooting that Stug more than once. And you know what's gonna happen. I knew this was coming. But for Sherman to take one hit, hey, that's already a win. A second shot, and the tickets are bleeding out. My only hope now is that he'll stay and shoot me instead of rushing forward to decap this point. Another crew lost, another tank abandoned. Let's just pretend everybody ran away. And now we'll just watch our teammate looking over the nose of his airplane as the last of those tickets bleed away. A rare and elusive victory for the American team. Yeah, I was a little bit frustrated with the grind earlier tonight, but this was a nice result. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.